proposal is if we get that permission from the council for ingress and egress from Carlton Avenue, that Mr. Russo would improve that 125, 150 feet area. We would provide, as has been requested by council for the town of North Smithfield, the appropriate easement. The town would have we would have an easement granted by the town. However, we would be responsible, Mr. Russo would be responsible to maintain the easement, to pave the easement, to construct the easement, to plow it, and anything else associated with it. The easement would run with the land, which would be servicing the proposed house that's going to be constructed. And, excuse me, there's a drainage plan which we'll be submitting tonight, which would actually improve the area, because right now, with the dirt road back there, the drainage is a little unmanaged, we shall say. There's also an agreement and a provision that Mr. Russo would provide insurance and otherwise indemnify and hold the town harmless regarding this easement, which we would be seeking so as to gain ingress and egress to this proposed single-family home from Carlton Avenue. This Carlton Avenue already services approximately 5 homes. This would be the last home at the end of essentially a dead-end street. We've previously obtained approvals from the fire department that this proposed extension of Carlton Avenue and the paving of it comports with safety requirements for the town. They indicated there's no need for a cul-de-sac or any turnaround. Public Works has provided a letter indicating that they're satisfied that the proposal comports with any public safety issues that may be out there. So again, we've got a twofold proposal before the council tonight. 1, zone change to BH. 2, looking for ingress and egress permission from Carlton Avenue. In addition to the materials that have already been submitted with the original package, depending on what the council chooses to do, I have prepared and are ready to submit, if and when appropriate, and I'm sure your council would be interested, a deed description for the new shaded business highway portion, if that's approved. We also have a deed description for the already approved Lot B, as we would call it, the sort of hourglass shaped lot. And we've also prepared the proposed meets and bounds description for this approximately 125, 150 foot extension of Carlton Avenue. In addition to what information I'm providing to the council tonight, I do have John Russo Sr. here, John Russo Jr. here, and also Edward Pimentel, who is a land use consultant who has prepared a report which we would be submitting tonight. I believe he's testified before this council in the past. He does have a CV with him. When he gets done with his proposal, I'm going to be asking him to be accepted as an expert for the purposes of the record.
We don't acknowledge experts.
Right.
I don't believe we acknowledge experts.
You don't acknowledge experts.
Not when both sides have one.
It's a public hearing, you can accept the
You can accept it, but not as an expert.
swear him in as an expert.
You're going to swear him in and accept his testimony, but not acknowledge credentials one way or another?
No,
Swear him in.
We're not swearing.
We're not going to swear him in.
I'm not going to swear him, just accept his testimony.
As long as I don't swear at me either. Why would we do that?
Before Mr. Pimentel is presented, any questions for myself? I think you've all seen the materials provided. I do have one at the end of my presentation in its entirety. The map that you were given has a legend section, which improperly at item 2 suggests that the area in question for this shaded BH land is 2.99 acres. That's incorrect, so I would be submitting before I conclude a corrected map which correctly identifies the square footage. I can do that now or at the conclusion after Mr. Pimentel has testified. Perhaps it would save time if he talks while I get the plans out.
I have to express a concern here.
Yeah.
The This is the 11th hour, we're in a public hearing, and you're resubmitting plans, and I will not have the opportunity to look over, like I have, you can see that.
It's precisely the same except for the square footage, in case there's ever a question about item 2 in the legend.
And also, I'm not sure that the deed description of easement, I don't know who in the town has reviewed this. Has anybody, has the solicitor looked at this, or the town planner? No, yeah, the town.
Hasn't been verified, but obviously it's what they purported to be.
That's the deed description. Certainly, if this was approved, your counsel would, I'm not telling him what he would do, but we would have to agree on the language regarding insurance, indemnification, and maintenance. But we're stipulating and agreeing that what your solicitor would deem to be appropriate. We've spoken about it, and we would be able to, we don't know what you're going to approve tonight, if anything, so if and when you do, we'll be able to work through the indemnification language. So, in any event,
All right, I just have a few things, looking this over. In those of the lots that I went over when I was thinking of building or having my daughter build a house, I've never seen lots in these shapes. Okay, this hourglass. Was there a specific reason why there's not a water, there's no pond there or anything else? Was there a reason?
to try to conform to zoning requirements as to lot frontage.
Well, you don't have lot frontage, it has to be on the street.
It is on the street.
Oh, no, you're not coming in there for that house, it's the
No,
other
no,
way.
no, no. It's not proposed to have ingress and egress. It's just to comply with setback requirements. We'd certainly prefer not to have that piece part of the equation. It's simply to try to satisfy setback requirements. If the council thinks that's not necessary, there's no plans to have ingress and egress onto Victory Highway.
I realize that, but I'm thinking on the inside next to Carlton's.
Yes.
Yeah. You need 125 feet onto the street. That's a street that they want entrance on
Yes.
Carlton. It's not on Route, what is the route?
102.
That's not the one they want to go back, in and out of.
We'll address that.
Okay.
What else did you have a concern about?
It's just, that's very unusual. I don't see where it has anything to do with the front lot, as you understand. And I'm concerned about having that from Carlton, 150 feet, front of that home.
It's not frontage, it's extending the roadway so as to give him driveway access, which is all shown on the plans that have been submitted. So to finish, right now, it's a road with dirt, so we would pave it and then have a driveway at the end.
Okay,
Instead
all
of-
right. I understand so far.
Are you all set?
And this
Mr.
was
O'Hara?
vetted,
Well-
this was vetted before your planning board, which, again, looked at the unique shape of the lot, and they did grant minor subdivision approval.
Can I be honest, the planning board grants a lot of things. Just want to be honest with you.
I understand because I've been out to both sites and I looked and spoke to different people. Rather than an easement, they were to continue the road and then have the driveway come in. My concern is that the town plows up to what is presently there, the dirt road. Where's that snow going? Onto his easement that gets to his driveway? It needs to be a town road that they can continue with that plow because the plow can't turn around. He's got to back up.
That portion, which Mr. Russo would be improving, it would be his responsibility to take care of the plowing of it and the maintenance of
What
it.
you're saying is there's
But
going
what
to be a
I'm
big bunch
saying,
of
you're going to
snow.
have a mountain of snow when the town truck comes and pushes it there.
The windrow. The
So
windrow's gonna do that.
I would rather see that he continue that road with the specifications that our DPW would approve. And then you can put your driveway right into what would then turn over to be a town road.
Plans are that we're going to extend the road down, John Russo. Plans are that we're going to extend the road completely down. It can only go 30 feet wide. If the town accepts that, we will expand the road down, and we'll push the road, the snow down to the end, into the driveway. We have another plan for drainage that's going to accept the water.
Because that would have to move from where it presently is.
Right. We don't want to drop the snow in front of Mr. Perry's house and leave it there. We will continue it down.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
Mr. Russo, what would be the, would there be a benefit then of you just building the road to the way the town would want you to build it, and then just hand that portion of the road over to the town?
That's fine with us. As long
And
as
then
we-
you just be responsible for your driveway.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
everybody else.
Well, also, there should be, you're gonna build it to land development subdivision regulations, of course, so that it's in continuity with the rest of our road system. I'm thinking, and I'm not a planner, but I'm thinking, but I'm thinking that they might require a cul-de-sac turnaround radius for rescue vehicles and for the snow plows to push snow off to the
There's not one
side.
there now.
Huh?
There's not one there. There's just
I know, but see, that was the dead end.
And it will still be a dead end, only 125 feet further down the road.
He's asking to improve a road. If you're gonna improve a road, you should improve it to the land development subdivision standards. There's possibility of a cul-de-sac being required now, maybe, you know.
Excuse me, we've already been through planning for all of that, and they found out they do not need a cul-de-sac. We have enough room in the driveway to turn the fire trucks around in the yard if we need. It's a house on a dead-end street, and we want to accept it. And the other problem is, we cannot go 50 feet wide because Mr. Perry's building is on the road, which the town allowed years ago to happen. So unless he takes his building down and we go the full 50 feet, then...
Yeah, no,
we'll
Mr.
do
Russo,
it.
it's not 50 feet, it's 30-foot pavement, 10-foot right-of-way on both sides, which would bring you to the 50 feet.
Well, that road,
So it's not 50-foot
Perry would
pavement.
know, is that road 50 feet?
Could be a pre-existing road, says roads are varying widths throughout the town.
Okay. So there's a little situation down there that happened years ago. One with the water runoff, and the other one with the building on the road. We're just trying to build a house down at the end of the road. We have 22 feet on the road, and then all we're asking for is to give us access to the road.
I'm sorry, Mr. Pimentel, is that you?
That's correct.
Mr. Pimentel, I see topography of topos, I can see the contours. I don't see any topos for Carlton Avenue. It's kind of a steep road, is it not? Depending on,
Where the, kind of the paper portion, I mean, the improved portion ends, and then it does slope down topography and goes to one more house lot before it becomes an actual permanent dirt road, or actually dead end, I should say. The unimproved portion, there is a steep drop, but then after that, it levels off again.
yeah, I read some of the narrative that the property itself had a 6 to 8% slope, which is fine. But my concern is going to be Carlton Avenue, the slope of Carlton Avenue. Now, you're going to be increasing impervious material, roads, driveways, roofs, sidewalks, and yet you want to submit a new drainage plan this evening?
Okay, so I'm the planner. I was engaged just to do the zone change. I wasn't involved in the subdivision process. So I can't answer those questions.
Excuse me, what would you like?
I'd like to know the topography, the slope of Carlton Avenue. How steep is the slope? What-
It is very steep.
It's steep, right? Okay. I mean, I'm familiar with it, I've been on it. Okay.
Anybody else have any questions?
What I'll do is I'll provide a copy of my report and my resume. I don't know if the council wants me, I know you don't qualify, I don't know if the council wants me to go over my resume or just leave it to come to the council.
You don't have to give up over your resume.
Okay. So for the record, it's Edward Pimentel, that's P as in Paul, I-M-E-N-T-E-L. So what I was asked to do was to do an assessment as to the appropriateness of the zone change. As council has already noted, the lot in question, although it was advertised as being the entire parcel, it is the entire parcel. It's 2/3 of the southerly portion. To the extent that I was only asked to review the appropriateness of the zone change, let me just quickly give a 30-second over the remaining property that will be an independent parcel approved purely for single-family residential purposes. The parcel has in fact already proceeded through subdivision, and it's already achieved, in my understanding, when I read the minutes, was combination master and preliminary, and I believe final was forwarded to the administrative officer. So, in fact, the subdivision has been approved. It's simply crossing the T's, dotting the I's, getting this process done, and then they'll submit to Mr. Kravitz for recording. What that will do also, that will serve as a buffer for the DH zone to end at that point, so there won't be a further encroachment in a northerly direction. And it also serves as a buffer in that the property owner will be the buffer to the DH zone, so they're not pushing that onto someone else. When I met with my client and we went out to the property, I also suggested he was in agreement. In fact, it was something he had already considered, and that is what makes this property so appropriate for DH is that the whole frontal portion is already a disturbed land area. We're not going to be disturbing or taking any trees down. But the portion to the rear, which would be to the westerly, it has vast mature vegetation. I've got pictures in my report. That will be a portion that will be preserved in perpetuity. And I've got photographs I even took from the back end, and as best as I could without encroaching or trespassing on neighbors, I took as close to the property boundaries to see what the line of sight would be from the rear neighbors. As you can see, it'd be pretty well screened, any commercial usage of the lot frontage. But if there was anything else that needed to be added to buffer visually from noise and so forth, Mr. Russo was prepared to do so. His desire is not to impede on the enjoyment of the neighbors, surrounding neighbors. It's just to take full enjoyment and benefit of the frontage of the property, which is on the major thoroughfare. Having said that, when I was asked to look at this for the appropriateness purposes, first and foremost, I look at your current comprehensive plan. I know you're in the midst of updating it. You've done extensive work, so I felt it was only appropriate to review that one as well. It's not technically the adopted one, but I reviewed both. And I excerpted extensive information from both as well in my report. And the reason that was also important was to determine, because the prior one has been amended as of 10 years ago, has there been a change in the vision for the town from then to now? And there hasn't. The town still is concerned about a heavy reliance on your residential property tax base, and as such, they indicate that any areas that may be very well appropriate for rezoning to commercial purposes should be considered. Your DH zone is the one that has the least quantity. In fact, you have very limited commercially zoned land acreage as it is, and the BH is the one that's the least of that. And therefore, there is support for rezoning if the parcel is appropriate. And what does appropriate mean? A, it knows it should be on a major thoroughfare, Victory Highway. Number two, there should be public infrastructure. The sewer line is at the intersection. It's in close proximity. The sewer line will be extended. Number three, to utilize land resources that in part have already been disturbed. This land area has already been disturbed along Victory Highway. It's appropriate for commercial usage. And it's well suited in that the rear can be buffered from the residential neighborhoods. So when you look at the goals and objectives, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Do we have a particular business in mind?
No, right now the zone in general is a blanket zone. There is no specific development, meaning somebody hasn't approached Mr. Russo and says, hey, we would like to use this land for this purpose. And as such, you go for a development plan and then subsequently go for a zone change. This would be so that it's ready to be marketed, so that you can seek out, whether it be a bank like American Bank down the street, or a strip, a retail center, anything that would otherwise be allowed in the DH zone. But no, nothing specific. What we can say is, whatever business is attracted to the site, they would know that A, there's a buffer to the north in that residential lot. There's going to be setback requirements. The rear, vast mature of the trees will be preserved to some degree to screen neighbors, protect from noise and so forth. that will be something that they'll have to understand when they go to sell the property, that these things must be retained. So given all that, I think the zone change is very appropriate, and quite in line with your comprehensive plan. I would deem it consistent, and we would hopefully get support from the
Well, we did the
council.
same thing. We did the same thing for the church, if you remember.
I do, and I voted against it.
We did,
Because they did not, they were coming for a zone change without informing the town council of what business would be coming. So we approved a zone change without knowing what could end up there.
Although I don't have any specific land use to offer to the council, the zoning ordinance lays out the land uses that would otherwise be permitted in the DH zone, and that's what we're asking for, is for those uses. Nothing out of it. We wouldn't ask for anything beyond what would otherwise be permitted in the DH zone. I don't know if the council has any questions?
So frontage on Victory Highway would be what, 167 plus or minus feet?
Are you talking about the residential lot?
Yes,
I believe that's cool.
that's what's indicated on the plan, right?
What's the amount of frontage due to the residential lot on Victory Highway?
167?
150 feet, sir.
150?
Let me just offer that up to the council.
Listen, Jim, that answers my question. I was
Yeah.
looking at this as the entrance.
Understood. So the situation is that when you're seeking a subdivision, there are standards that are required by statute that you have to meet, and all those standards are carried over into your subdivision and your land development regulations. That is true of all 39 cities and towns. And one of those requirements is that, A, you have to be consistent with your zoning ordinance. In this case, you need a certain amount of lot frontage, lot width. That is why the property is uniquely configured, so that we can meet that requirement